Hi, in this video we are going to cover the very basics in Adobe Illustrator. In Illustrator, once you have it opened, you want to create a new document. We're just going to make a letter size document, so 8.5 inches in width, 11 in height. Keep this RGB for the color mode, so if you want to access that information, go to your advanced options. So RGB for the color mode under advanced options. Raster effects, let's keep them high for now. So those are, again, both of those options are under the advanced options. And there you go. There is our letter size document. In here, we are just going to cover kind of some of the very basics in Illustrator. To start out with, we need to get accustomed to the workspace. It's similar to Photoshop in a lot of ways, but it's also a little bit different. On the left-hand side are our tools, just the way it is in Photoshop. If your tools look like mine right now, where they are in one column, great. If you want to expand them out to make them into two columns, you can hit that little double arrow right there. And again, you can go back to one column. However you want that set up is fine with me. Just be aware that you can change that way. So when you're looking at your tools, again, similar to Photoshop, you have a lot of tools available sort of at first glance, but also some of your tools have a little triangle in the bottom right-hand corner. That indicates that there are other tools nested under that tool. So if I click and hold on one of my tools there, then I can see the other tools that are nested under it. So my rectangle tool, nested under that one are my ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tool, all of those. So keep that in mind. In Illustrator, we use instead of the move tool, that's the equivalent in Photoshop, we have the selection tool and the direct selection tool. So they work the same way as the move tool in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways they are different as well. Just so you're aware, we're going to talk about this a lot more as we move along on in the semester, but the regular selection tool, this black arrow, essentially applies actions to a whole object. So if I create a rectangle and I want to move that rectangle, I would use the selection tool, the regular selection tool, the black arrow. If I wanted to make some changes to individual parts of this, the rectangle I just made, I would use my white arrow tool or my direct selection tool. Just FYI, again, we will cover that in a lot more depth later. If you need to reset your workspace, so if you are working on something and you get everything kind of out of whack and you really make a mess of it, what you can do is come up here to the upper right hand corner of your screen. Right now mine shows Essentials Classic, but yours might get, for some reason, might get set to one of these other options. If you go to Reset Essentials Classic, then everything should kind of go back to sort of square one. And you can set this so that once you get your workspace arranged the way you like it, then you can save that workspace if you want to. I like mine set to Essentials Classic. You can switch it to Essentials. That's sort of the newest version of the workspace, but I like Essentials Classic because it gives me a little bit more information at first glance. In Illustrator, similar to Photoshop, we have panels that we work with. So in order to access those panels, they're kind of nested here on the right-hand side. But as you can see, I just clicked on my Layers panel, and then that pops up. I can click on my Stroke panel, and that pops up. Be aware that some of these panels have an option to click in the upper right-hand corner here, which is those three lines, and I can show more options. So like if you're looking for your stroke and all you see when you open that up is just one option, which is the weight, you can go ahead and go to the show options, and then you'll see a lot more options available to you. But again, all of those kind of stay nice and organized on the right hand side if you want them to be. If you don't want them to be nice and organized, you can pull them around, separate them, so I can keep artboard separate. I work with layers a lot, even in Illustrator, just like Photoshop, so I like that one to be kind of front and center, but maybe I don't want asset import or export to be visible at all times. I can kind of get that off of there. If I'm looking for a panel and I don't see it, I don't recognize one of these icons on the right hand side here, I can always go to Window, and then I can find all of my panels available right in there. So if I want color and I don't see it open, I can click on that, and then I can get to my color options. Saving a file in Illustrator is very similar. So file, save as. A lot of times we'll save it as an AI file, but be aware that you can change the format, so you could save it as an EPS file or a PDF or whatever the case may be. Just navigate to wherever you want to save it to and hit save. The other thing that we'll do with some of our files is we'll go to File and Export, and then we'll export as, and the option that it will pop in as is a PNG, and a lot of times that's what we'll use. So just keep in mind that you would put the file name up there and change the format to PNG if that's not already selected. And then you would hit Export. That's it. That's the basics of Illustrator.